I did my case study on a girl named Renee. This is my drawing of her. Renee's strengths were that she was very good at sight words. She did pretty well with spelling, at least on the first list. We didn't do the second list. And reading single syllable words, she was very good at. Renee's weaknesses were decoding multi-syllable words, implicit questions, and explaining word meanings. So her expressive vocabulary was pretty weak. So the first weakness, decoding multi-syllable words, I would do a few things with her. My first two strategies would be teaching prefixes and suffixes. So my steps to do this would be maybe start out with some words that are cut out, and she would look through the words and I would tell her, put them into, 2 or 3 categories based on how many, prefixes or suffixes I gave her. But I wouldn't tell her what the categories were. I'd want to see if she could figure out how to categorize them herself. And she's pretty good at sorting things, so I think she'd be able to do that. So from there, we would talk about, well, why did you put, these 3 words together? Why'd you put these 3 words together? And I think she would be able to understand, oh, these 3 words I noticed had co. These 3 words had dis. And if she wasn't getting that, then I'd help her and I'd point out, wow, I think the first 3 letters are the same in these 2 words, and from there, move her along. But I think she'd be able to get it. And then afterward, we'd talk about, okay, well, what do these things mean? So we'd talk about, what does dis mean? What does co mean? And then we'd define the word. So dis meaning like not like, not agree, not honest. So that would help her break apart words and be able to read them easier, and it would also help her with explaining word meanings, which was another weakness. So another thing I would do with her is I would highlight familiar words within a larger word, so break it down. So my example was the word graduate. She would probably be able to find the word grad and ate, and from there we could talk about, well, how would you connect them? The you, do you say that by yourself? How is that accented in a word? And that's more teaching moments for her. So the second weakness for her was implicit questions. So in class we learned about this trash game, and I really think that would be a great way to help her start to infer answers. So I drew a trash bag that has, a trophy or 2 and a medal that says number 1. So I'd give her these items in an actual trash bag, and I'd ask her things like, oh, what do you think this person does for fun? Do you think they like to read? Like, just say yes or no, questions, and then from there, she could tell me, no, they like to play sports, or they are a champion chess player, or whatever the trophies are for. And then my second strategy would be kind of an extension of this, where instead of actually going through the trash bag, it's a reading instead of somebody doing that, and that gets her more focused into the reading aspect of it, but carrying over that skill we just learned, so it's more of a transition. So maybe she'd get a reading about somebody going through their neighbor's trash and they found like a diaper and a bottle, and then she'd answer 1 or 2 questions that was like, do you think this person has a large family? How old do you think the person's child is, etc.? And she'd be able to say, oh, well, there was a bottle, so they probably have a baby. Oh, there was a diaper, so yeah, it's definitely a baby. Maybe they have 1 baby, maybe they have 2, can't really tell right now. From there, another strategy I would teach her that's separate from these 2, I think, is going back in the text and highlighting a character's actions or words. So if the story was asking you, how does Renee feel about her mom? Maybe the whole story was, oh, Renee, rushed home from school and couldn't wait to get home. She picked some flowers for her mom on the way. When she got home, she gave her mom a big hug. So we'd go back through and we'd highlight rushed home, picked flowers, gave hug. And then when the question asks, how does Renee feel about her mom? Renee, my student, may be able to say, I think she really loves her mom. Why? Well, let's go back to what we highlighted. And then my third third weakness for Renee was explaining word meanings and her expressive vocabulary. So, oh, that's the wrong board. So something I would do with her to start to go into this, just like a toe in the water at first, would be give her a sentence that has a made-up word in it. So my example was, you need to eat soup with a splinger so the liquid can get to your mouth. And I'd be like, okay, Renee, what do you think a splinger is? And she'd say, oh, I think it's a spoon. Why do you think it's a spoon? Oh, because you eat soup with a spoon and it says you need to get the liquid to your mouth and you can't do that with a fork. So then I'd say, okay, so explain what a spoon is. And from there she could go back into the sentence and say, oh, you eat soup with it. It's something that you use to get liquid into your mouth because a fork won't work. And it starts to help her start thinking about, well, what does that word mean? And she's got clues to help her out with it. Another strategy would be have her play a drawing game. So maybe the word she's given is fence. So she draws a picture of a fence. And I'd say, okay, explain to me what your word is without using the word. And she could say, okay, well, my word for it, I drew some lines that are maybe typically wood sticking up out of the ground. There's usually grass around it, and it keeps two things apart. Like on one side of it, there might be a dog, and on the other side, there might be a girl. Great, Renee, I think your word's a fence. So I think with those strategies, it would start to help her with her weaknesses, and hope you enjoyed my drawings.